Well, hello, Stu. How are you?
Great day, Glenn.
It is.
What a great day, man.
It is.
Seriously.
Finally, some good news.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it could go away tomorrow, but let's have faith.
Can't go away tomorrow. The Blue Jays beat the Yankees. It's over. That series is over.
No, we were talking about the peace in the Middle East. Yeah.
Wait, what happened?
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, what an incredible development.
And who would have ever thought that you would have Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Qatar, and kind of Jordan all in saying, we're with the United States and Israel. We want peace. Here's how we get there. And Hamas does it.
These are all things that could not have possibly existed very recently.
No, and you know why? I am convinced. I mean, I've talked to Donald Trump about so many different things, but the best example of this is he will not allow me to ask him a question about assassination in the future. Okay?
Wait.
I've asked him, are you concerned about... I don't even want to talk about it. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. He calls into existence. He knows the power of thought. He knows the power of language. And he never will call something into existence like that. Okay, you can believe him or not believe him, but he will not ever do that. He only tries to think positively about things. He's called this into existence, where everybody else said, State Department says can't be done. Nobody wants to do this. That's too big of a. He doesn't care. He just walks in and he's like, hey, everybody, what do you say we change the game entirely? What is it going to take for all of you to recognize Israel? Israel, what is it going to take for you to stop? And Gaza, what is it going to take for you to return the hostages? Let's do that deal. I mean, it's just this big thinking where he doesn't say can't be done. He never says can't be done. And that's why he moves mountains. It's just the power of positive thinking. It's the power of your thoughts are creative. So be careful, choose your thoughts and change the world.
And that's why he's able to cross these lines that people just don't think things are possible. Even if we don't know how this is going to turn out.
No,
there's a lot to be clear. There's a million things that could go wrong with this peace deal.
Scriptures tell us not going to last.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
we don't know where this thing ends.
Yeah.
But just the attempt, I would say, argued the same thing with Ukraine and Russia, right? Like he went in there with this idea of I'm going to solve this, and that one has not been solved
Correct.
yet. But this is how he approaches these things,
right? And it's not that he can control other people, because he can. He can't control how Putin looks at it, et cetera, et cetera. But he doesn't say no to big ideas.
Yeah, right.
That
allows him to approach those
everybody
ideas.
tries to nibble at the edges on everything. On everything. Look at how this guy has moved mountains. And it's because he comes in and he's like, yeah, we're not doing it that way anymore. Here's what we're going to do. Look at the difference in the State Department. Look at the difference in Marco Rubio. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Marco Rubio is like one of the best State Department officials I've ever seen.
Secretaries of State.
Yeah. Have you seen a better Secretary of State than him?
Well, Hillary. You got to throw her into the conversation.
And it's because they're just saying what's true. They're very clear. They don't compromise. I mean, they will compromise, but not on the principles. If these hostages are not returned on Monday or Tuesday, it'll be over. He's not going to go, okay, well, let's give you some more money. Let's do that. No. We're not flying cash onto a tarmac.
Is this his best issue?
Yes.
Of his entire presidency going back to the first term?
Historically speaking, for sure.
Because I think, my argument would be the border probably, and I do think this second term, the border has been an overwhelming, unquestioned success. But I think the basis for what happened here was set in the first Trump term.
It was.
This is really something that has extended over both terms. He didn't get enough credit for it in the first term. We argued that constantly.
No. And as soon as they came in, it was all reversed. People want war there.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He doesn't want war.
You're right. And people have accused him of that, of course. They always say, warmonger and all these other things. I think he really does believe that to his core. And the only reason I think this stuff might be possible, and again, with all disclaimers aside for a moment here, because we do know this is a very difficult road ahead on this, but the relationship...
This is not, hang on just a minute. This is not just a difficult road. This is the moonshot of peace deals.
Yeah, it's the one everyone mocks.
How many times were we burning up on the launch pad? Right. I mean, this is the moonshot.
Yeah, and that's we've already started to see Hamas whine about stuff. God only knows where this ends.
Yep.
But the basis for this even to be possible was set up in his first term with the improvement of relationships between these other Arab countries in the region and Israel. The fact that, you think people are like, oh, what's Israel even giving up here? They are allowing, if this goes through, a bunch of these countries that for the past half century have attacked them every 3 years.
Oh, don't. It's 80 years.
Thank you.
It's just since their founding.
Have been attacked by a lot of these countries over and over again, and oftentimes in coalition with each other. They're allowing them to come in and, if this goes down the road, oversee part of their own country.
Yeah.
Right? They are giving up a massive thing here. Yeah. And they only do that if they actually had some trust with these nations, and of course trust with the United States to help enforce it.
Here's Trump's genius. You're exactly right. This was planted with the other countries last time with the Abraham Accords. Okay, they gained trust, but the Palestinians didn't have any trust because remember, we're the great Satan, little Satan, blah blah blah. He has gotten the rest of the countries in the Middle East to say, no, they're not the little Satan. They have a right to exist. We can coexist with them, blah, blah, blah. That's never been done. Okay, never been done. He did that last time. Remember when Qatar was attacked by Israel? Okay, just recently.
Yeah.
And
it's a big factor.
And Donald Trump and everybody was like, wait, what are you doing? Donald Trump came out and read Benjamin Netanyahu, the Riot Act, and said, apologize. Okay? And Benjamin Netanyahu did. Okay, that's the key on this one. You can't take Donald Trump at the moment alone. You have to look at his strategy. He is playing three-dimensional chess. When he said that, he knew that was the key. They're all saying now that was the key, because when he did that with Qatar and defended Qatar and said, "Hey, no, play nice, everybody play nice." And Benjamin Netanyahu did apologize. That separated the United States from Israel as, just a little, that we're all in it together. That's little Satan. We're big Satan. It showed that the president is a fair and neutral broker and will look at both sides. And Israel isn't always right. The Middle East isn't always wrong. He showed that to them. That was the moment that the Palestinians said, okay, now wait a minute. Maybe he is a somewhat honest broker for being the great Satan. That's what brought this to a head and brought everybody to the table and said, okay, we can trust Donald Trump. That's an amazing thing.
Yeah. This is, it's unequivocal here. And this is you still have to get this over the finish line, but these are incredible accomplishments. They're accomplishments that it has become, for as long as I've been involved in politics and world events and cared about it at all, it has been the joke. Oh, Middle East peace right around the corner.
Yeah.
It has been the joke that it's impossible, that it will always be promised. And, again, we got to get there, but this is as close as we've ever been.
Would anyone ever say Gaza should be the Riviera? You would say, no. Donald Trump, his vision from the beginning has been, this can be prosperous. This could be the Riviera. You just have to stop the terrorism. So he got the Middle East together, and the Middle East now says, we'll rebuild. We're not rebuilding it. I don't want a dime going to rebuild that. They'll rebuild it. they'll guarantee the peace there because they'll have their money invested in it, in hotels and golf courses and whatever they want to do, and make it the Riviera. That changes everything, all the dynamics, because now the Egypt and Saudi Arabia and Jordan and Qatar and everything else, they're going to be pouring billions of dollars into it. They're not going to want it wrecked. I mean, he's brilliant. The guy, if he doesn't get a Nobel Prize, assuming the hostages come home next week,
yeah.
God only knows. But the guy deserves the Nobel Peace Prize.
And I think they would just dissolve the award before they gave it to him.
They would.
They're like, no.
That Nobel Prize thing, that was yesterday. We don't do that anymore.
We didn't pay our rent. The building's closed.
Yeah.
But he will quite obviously deserve it if this happens.
Have you heard what the rest of the world is saying about him? I mean, all the leaders from all over the world are like, this is amazing, and the only reason it happened is because of Donald Trump. What is the left going to say? How do the protesters, if this ends? I mean, this is why it won't end if it doesn't, because there is too much power that they'll be giving up on the streets of Europe and America and all over the world. How do you have the Palestinian protesters on the streets tearing our cities apart? You don't. It's over. It's over. I mean, this is just genius from start to finish. All right, more in just a second. First, let me tell you about Simply Safe. By the way, we have a story to tell you about this Texas business owner who criticized the H-1B visas and is now just being hammered. His business is being run out here in Texas, and even a church has come out. And when you hear the story, you'll be like, wait, freedom of speech? What is happening? What is happening? And it's here in Texas. We'll talk about that. And I had a private meeting yesterday with Governor Abbott. He's going to be joining us on Monday. I asked him, why would you send the troops? Why Texas? Oh, my gosh. His answer is so and again, Donald Trump. Donald Trump reached out and said, I need the Texas National Guard. Okay. I'm willing to send them. What exactly do you need? Texas National Guard. I'll tell you why he asked for Texas. Again, genius. In just a second. First, let me tell you about Simply Safe. When your house goes quiet, that's when you notice everything. The hum of the air conditioner, the headlights drifting across the wall at night, the creaks and groans that makes your house, a little unnerving at times, unless you have Simply Safe. Then it's just noise. Simply Safe builds a layered perimeter around your house. Entry sensors for doors and windows, motion and glass break to catch what you can't see. Cameras to check in, life safety detectors for smoke and CO2 and water. And if something trips, you get a clear alert. 24/7 professional monitoring can verify it and get help fast. So the setup is straightforward. There's really, no wires, no holes in the wall, no strangers camped in your living room. You customize the system, place the sensors, connect the app, and you're protected the same day, within 30 minutes. It is really good. It's Simply Safe. SimplySafe.com/Beck. SimplySafe.com/Beck. Claim 50% off a new system today. That's SimplySafe.com/Beck. There is no safe like Simply Safe. 10 seconds, stage 90. Okay, so let me just talk about the shutdown here for a second. They're having another vote. I think it's the 7th vote today. It's not going to pass. But is it just me? And I haven't heard anybody talk about this. I think these shutdowns show America what government, what essential government actually means. And, with an exception of the air traffic controllers, which, by the way, if I were the president, I'd fire you. You don't show up for work. You are essential to the economy, to the security, to everything in America. You, just like Reagan said, you don't strike or I'll fire you and replace you. He's got to figure out a way to get all of the essential services paid and moving. And then I got to tell you, I would just be like, no, we're not negotiating. And I think if this president went 4 months, and he could cover all of the essential services, no one would care. No one would care because they're getting everything. And then he could say, 40% of the government's not even showing up for work. So why do we have that 40% of that government? Cut it. You could convince people that the sky doesn't, fall. Planes don't fall out of the skies, but he's got to cover the essential services. Let's see, there's what else? What is Antifa is trending today online. That's interesting that people are now like, what is Antifa? Oh.
Just an idea, Glenn. It's just an idea. It's not. There's no organization. There's no real members, not a real group. It's an idea. There's nothing you can do about it. But might as well just let them burn things down.
So funny because that's what the show I did last night was, is Antifa just a group of ragtag rebels? There's no organization behind it. There's no leadership, et cetera, et cetera. And I went through some of the possible funding for Antifa and just asked the question all the way. Wait a minute. This group we know wrote $1 million check to Antifa. If there's no organization, who did they make the check out to? What bank did they deposit it in? I also showed you last night that Fidelity and Charles Schwab, their charitable services, are giving to defense of Antifa. Now, if I had Charles Schwab or Fidelity, I would their charity arm. I would ask, what is that? What are you doing with it? But I mean, it's all going to come out in the wash because the president met in the White House yesterday, and he met with several people. One of them was a Blaze reporter who has frontline experience with Antifa, and talked to them about what they see, what connections they see, et cetera, et cetera. And I got to tell you, I think he's going to take them on. It's going to be a tough one because there's so much money involved. And when he starts going into things like Act Blue, you start peeling that onion and you just see the layers come off over and over and over again. And if he actually does that, it's going to change the world. But the left is not going to like it. They're not going to like it. But, maybe we don't have the Palestinians in the streets trying to burn our cities down now and, trying to kill the Jews, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe we take that one off the table and we just have to deal with Antifa here for a little while. So it's a good day in America.
It really is. It's bizarre, too. Like, you read some of the coverage. The New York Times has a story. As Israelis breathe a sigh of relief, some ask why a deal took so long.
Oh, now, my gosh.
I have an idea. I had thought maybe because Hamas didn't approve all the previous efforts and didn't release the hostages. That's actually what I think is the actual answer to that question.
I was thinking that maybe because Hamas and Hezbollah were set up by the Grand Mufti after meeting with Hitler back in the 1940s, and so they've been wanting to kill the Jews the whole time, and
got a longer road.
Won't accept a two-state solution ever.
But there's paragraphs like this in the story. With much of the country off from work, people danced in circles along the main Tel Aviv thoroughfare. Huge billboards had appeared that read, "Thank you, President Trump."
This is Glenn Beck.
What a day! What a day! What a day! Obviously, peace in the Middle East, great. And then also the Blue Jays, defeating the New York Yankees. Oh, what a wonderful day!
Canadian sports team. You're a French spy, which I keep you in my employ because French can't do anything right. So.
Not particularly effective.
Yeah.
Prize Picks is a great way to enjoy this. Even if you happen to be a Yankees fan, sure, everything's lost for you right now. But you can still go on Prize Picks and enjoy the rest of the MLB playoffs, NFL. There's so many different things going on, and it's nice and easy. You jump in, you sob for a few hours, and then you jump in and set a lineup. It's great. Turn your mood around completely with the football coming up, college and pro coming up as well this weekend. It's a great time to get involved with Prize Picks. It's the only app that offers stacks. So if you want to go all in on a single player stats across different categories, you can. It's easy, just more or less on a couple different categories, and you can win a bunch of times, like 1,000 times your money. Download the app today. Use the code STU. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. The code is STU to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. It's Prize Picks, and it's good to be right.
Hey, make sure you join us and get everything you need. Blaze.com. Renew your subscription now at blazetv.com/Glenn. Welcome to the Glenn Beck Program. So there is a Texas business owner who has had his life and his family's life turned completely upside down because he made a social media post, and he was criticizing H-1B visas. He said, let me see, I want to get the quote exactly right. He said, "We have to cancel the H-1Bs. I want my kids to grow up in America, not India." Okay. You could read that as absolutely racist. You could read that a million different ways. Of course, nobody read that as anything other than absolutely racist. Now his family has been doxxed. They have received death threats. The business was review bombed. Somebody claimed to have access to millions of Indian Americans across America, tried to extort him and his family for $20,000. He deleted the post. He said, "Like that's not what I mean." Now his church, I think, has kicked him out of his church. What the hell is that? We wanted to have him on to explain. Daniel Keene is with us now. Hello, Daniel. How are you, sir?
Good. How you doing, Glenn?
Very good. So let me ask you about the initial comment first. How did you mean that?
Yeah, well, I certainly didn't mean it in racial terms. My what I was trying to express is my opposition to the immigration policies, which is why I called out the H-1B visa in particular. It just obviously was, as you mentioned, was definitely construed in racial terms, and I was, accused of having racial animosity as opposed to just wanting better, wiser immigration policy for our country.
I heard somebody yesterday. I was standing by somebody, and I just overheard a conversation, and they said they live someplace here in Texas, and they have exactly the same view. And what they were saying was, I grew up in this neighborhood, and it has fundamentally changed overnight. And I'm not saying that, they're deadbeats or anything else. It's just a completely different culture that is not American. And that happened before with Italians moving in, et cetera, back in the past. But, there should be some desire to, meld into our society and become Americans. I think the Indians do that, but it's getting more and more rare with immigrants, and certainly not happening with illegals.
Yeah, and what's interesting, I think a lot of people would find interesting, is the Indians I do know they took no offense. They had no objection to the post. It was the sort of left-leaning Americans, and then it was foreign bot attacks on the business. So interesting enough, they didn't deem it as racial, as racist, and they actually have reached out to me, many of them, to voice their agreement. They see the violation of sort of the normal immigration, standard of assimilation, or even of visa fraud, and they too also think there needs to be reform and needs to be a pulling back on just the sheer mass amount. It's such a concentrated area, specifically here in Dallas, too. So
okay, so let me just go through some things. Your business was attacked. Your family has been attacked. You They've gone to this gym forever. They know you. You even talked to them for a while, and after this, and everybody was cool. And then all of a sudden, you lose your gym membership. You're no longer welcome here. And then the one I really want to talk to you about is your church. What happened at your church?
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. So with the church, obviously initially when the post went viral, it got significant traction. Which when I posted it, I had 300 followers on X. Not as significant. I was really just speaking to friends and people I knew.
Right.
But yeah, it went viral, and obviously the threats came pretty quickly. I sort of in a panic deleted it, thinking I wasn't expecting to be a public figure overnight. So my information was accessible to people. So talking to my wife in the middle of the night, we deleted the post, or I deleted the post, and following up, the church reached out to me, and you would think that the church was concerned with the extortion and the threats and the accusations and the attacks on the business, but they were very, very concerned with the public image of the church being brought in to my expression of the opposition of the policies. And so over the course
Did you mention the Trails Church? Because let me bring them in. Did you mention the Trails Church?
No, it was easily accessible that I was a member. I'm a heavily involved member of the church. I was leading Bible studies, leading community groups, coordinating services. So I was not on staff, but I was about as involved as a member as you could be.
Okay. So they know you. And they call you in and they say, your post was uncharitable. Okay. All right. So they interview you. And it doesn't turn out to be like, hey, let's solve this. It seems almost like an inquisition, at least the way I have read about it. Can you tell me what happened?
Yeah. So immediately following the post, it was a phone call with 3 elders and me, and them expressing that they deemed it as racist and not, quote, not loving my neighbor. And, obviously my opposition to that was, which neighbor are we talking about? Because I'm acting out of love for my friends and the members of the church who are being harmed by these policies. And they were more concerned with how an Indian immigrant might understand what I mean by that with that post. So that was followed. That was about an hour and a half conversation. Then there was another phone call, and then that was on the Wednesday. And then actually, that was the Wednesday that Charlie was assassinated.
Oh, my gosh.
And it changed the dynamic quite a bit. It gave me some fortitude looking at the just the impact he had on my life and on so many others. And so it gave me some fortitude to continue to express that I didn't think that I sinned with the post. I thought that I was honoring God and caring for my neighbor. And I was willing to kind of suffer the consequences if they wanted to continue in the meetings. And it was in that meeting that they expressed that this was church discipline that I was in the process of, which as Baptists is a very serious thing. At the end of, typically for Congregationalists, you're brought before the church and you're voted to be removed and treated as a Gentile and unbeliever. And so that was very concerning that I was in the process. I never in my life thought that I would be in the process of church discipline. And Charlie's death kind of changed the dynamic a little bit. They brought me in one more time with my wife. They insisted my wife was there. She's 8.5 weeks pregnant, or 8.5 months pregnant. I'm sorry, at that point. Wow. We're due the next week. And so she observed. And it was 7 elders and me, and they peppered me with questions for 2 hours. And
what were the questions?
The questions were in-depth nuance of my views on the issue, and I just answered them with, it's not. I don't have a racial animosity. I was on staff with Campus Crusade for Christ. I worked with international students for 3 years, sharing the gospel with them. I have tons of affection and love for a good dynamic of immigration policies that has a sunset and they're returning back to the country and we're leaving on good terms and all those things. Their concern was that just the policy itself, my position, the expression of my position was deemed as not loving towards other people. And I just wholeheartedly disavow that and don't affirm that. made clear my views on race, that I'm not racist. I don't view people with racial animosity or hatred. In fact, I think these policies actually, when done incorrectly, they lead to racial animosity. When you bring in so many people at one time into one area, and you see that you talk to people and you hear about them feeling like they're losing their country, there's a animosity that's kind of stirred up, and there's not brotherly love and affection for one another when that happens.
And there should be as much concern about the people who feel that way. You should have as much concern about, hey, let's sit down, let's talk about this, let's find the way so you don't feel that way. Let's find the way to slow down or whatever it is, not stop, but to make sure that you're comfortable, they're comfortable. So what was the outcome with the church?
Yeah, and certainly it's their right to express that, right? And so the outcome was it ended with another meeting, another 2-hour kind of meeting. Because I'm not willing to admit that I sinned in this way, I am therefore not submitting to the elders, and I need to find another church. I was asked formally to leave the church. They did not bring me before the church to vote, so there wasn't, in their terms, on a technicality, I wasn't technically excommunicated. I was just told with 8 elders and staff that I needed to go to another church, which I said, okay, give me, I will do that, but I need to find another church. And then ultimately they ended up making comments to the church verbally, and when saying that I wasn't a member, which was news to me and my wife as well. And so we reached back out to them. We said, hey, we do want to continue to be members until we find a new church. They said that's too late. You're not a member anymore. And then then the articles were published, and now I'm talking to you. So,
wow. So where do you stand? Have you found a new church?
We've had numerous people reach out to us, express, hey, you're welcome here. And so we've got a list of great churches, I think, and great pastors who have been even counseling me. Immediately, I kind of reached out to other pastors just to get some other perspective. Like,
sure.
Did I sin? Did I really do something wrong? Because I don't feel like I did. And they kind of were able to actually counsel my wife and I through the process, whereas the elders just wanted to kind of run an inquisition on me.
Why do you think they did that? What?
I mean, I think that they are very concerned in the most charitable way possible towards them. I think they're concerned with me being a stumbling block for people to come to join the church, to come to know Christ. And that's their primary concern. And I
Man, if that was the primary concern, I would not be a member of any church. There's no way any church would. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had, even in my own church, people say, well, he's a member, then I don't know what a member is. Okay. Well, don't go to church because of the members. Go because of the truth of the gospel. That's what you're there for. We're all on the path of trying to be better people, trying to get to the truth one way or another. I mean, wow. You only take the people you agree with.
Yeah, that was something I expressed towards the end. It ultimately was like my final concern, and is the reason why I'm willing to talk about it publicly. And of course, I'm being accused of sowing division and all these things after I'm a member or not a member anymore. But my issue that I see, and I hear these stories of people who deal with the same thing, is that the church there are things that the church, that maybe leaders in the church value that are maybe they're landmines, and these are major sins to them in their eyes. They're not major sins in terms of, or even sin, you want to say, in Scripture, and where they overlook the clear, objective sin taking place in the church. Mm-hmm. They have no problem devoting so much time and attention and energy to something that is very within the Christian liberty area, liberty of conscience on this issue. So,
well, Daniel, I'm sorry for what you've gone through, and I know you've learned an awful lot, and hopefully the church has learned something as well. But I wish you all the best of luck, and you have a right to speak your mind peacefully, calmly, and have your own opinion. I appreciate you speaking out. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate you.
We'll be following his story. I have to tell you, now is the time for courage. If it's not now, when? If you feel something is wrong, you must speak out, because if not you, who? Cowards everywhere. Speak in peace, speak with love, speak the truth with empathy, but do not ever sit down. I'll go out many ways. I will not go out a coward. Back in just a minute. All right, American financing. Any of these things sound familiar? You've got the monthly stack of bills, the credit card, the interest that never seems to move anything, the feeling that your paycheck is already spoken for before it even arrives. You ever wonder, is there a smarter way to deal with all of this debt in life? There is. And American financing starts with a simple conversation and a clear set of numbers, your goals, your balances, your timeline. Then they build that custom plan, that way for you to breathe again. Now, maybe that's refinancing to a payment that fits. Maybe that's consolidating double-digit credit card debt into one predictable monthly number. Maybe it's shortening the term so you get in your home sooner without feeling squeezed. The process is straightforward. They don't get paid by the banks to make loans. They're in it for you. Call American Financing now at 800-906-2440. The average person is saving, from this audience alone, is saving over $800 every single month. So please, it's worth your time to call. 800-906-2440. It's AmericanFinancing.net.
NMLS 182334. NMLSConsumerAccess.org. APR for rates in the 5 starts at 6.799% for well-qualified borrowers. Call 800-906-2440 for details about credit costs and terms.
A wise man once said, "Trust in God and always keep watch on the gate." I don't know about you, but that sounds like a solid plan to me. This is Glenn Beck.
Look, we don't have to agree with everybody. We just have to be willing to listen to one another, correct one another when we think they are off, and unless they're causing violence, live with it. Live with it. I'm sorry, but there are going to be people you disagree with everywhere. That is called life. Stop with the silencing of free speech.
This is Glenn Beck.